Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This meeting is being live streamed by Chelmsford Telemedia and posted to the Chelmsford Public Schools website for interested community members to access and watch. In-person public participation will be taking place tonight in accordance with the Chelmsford School Committee Public Participation Guidelines. Anyone speaking tonight during the public input portion of the meeting has notified the superintendent's office of their desire to speak and has been provided with these guidelines. Upon request, written comments received no later than 12 p.m. on the day of this meeting will also be read and made a part of the record of the meeting during the second public comment session. Are there any members of the press planning on recording tonight? That's a no. Well, welcome to tonight's meeting. Our first order of business was to approve our minutes from, I forgot the date, Sharon, so sorry.
June 6th.
June 6th, right. So I will take a motion, please.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the June 6th meeting.
Second?
Second.
Okay, is there any corrections? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 4-0 in
You
favor.
abstained.
I'm sorry, John. I'm
Abstention.
so sorry.
I was so responsible, I didn't make the motion, nor did I second, and then it's okay.
3 in favor, 1 abstention. I apologize, John.
And thank you for your patience for me being out last week,
We missed you.
or 2 weeks ago.
All right, let's see. We do not have our student representatives tonight.
Correct.
Any good news people would like to share? Go ahead, Linda.
Well,
I mean,
2022, 2023 school year is a wrap. Great news.
Yep.
I have 2 kids in my house all day now. I mean, that's. They don't see me, I just stay in my office, I'm like, whoosh, yeah.
All right.
They can feed themselves now.
All right, so we are now to our first public input session. Do we have anybody registered to speak?
We do not.
All right, well, moving on to new business.
Great. Yep, we're going to jump right into new business tonight, and we have a couple presentations. First, I'm actually going to invite up Christine Clancy, who's our DPW director. And when Dennis isn't here, it's just easier to use the mic at the regular table. And Christine is going to share with us a little update with regard to the town's paving and sidewalk plan, as soon as we get that up for her.
So we can get back up.
Okay.
We literally just got kids out. Here we go. And we're back.
All right.
So, welcome, Christina. Thank you very much for coming and sharing with us.
Sure. Thank you for having me tonight. This is a similar presentation that has been presented to the Select Board and also to some other committees. I did add a couple of slides to talk about the schools. And I do like to provide this presentation for both a paving and sidewalk overview because a lot of the funding does come from one source. I think the focus will be, I try to keep the focus on the sidewalk, but I think it's important to speak also to the paving because so much of the funding is needed for paving. So I'll dive right into the presentation. So in terms of the pavement management system, this system that we established in town was in 2012. It was updated in 2021, 187 miles of town roads. This is a database that we use to maintain our pavement system, all 187 miles of road. We look at doing various types of projects with this system. We do crack sealing, that's more preventative maintenance, all the way to pavement reclamation, which is the more construction. We're actually milling up to 8 inches of the road. And we also, in terms of this pavement management system, this looks at the roadway classification, so looking at arterial, the mostly used roads, and then collectors, and then down to the local roads or subdivisions at least used. The pavement management system gives ratings, and I'll get into that the next couple of slides, provides ratings of each of the roads, and also provides, helps prioritize based on their uses. So for in the pavement management system, it's a PCI index, so it's a scale of 0 to 100. 0 is a gravel road that is in desperate need of pavement. 100 is something that is brand newly paved. So we, right, and I'll get into where we currently sit with a rating of 76. So in the next slide, here you can start to see, so if we have for treatment bands. So anything that's 93 to 100 was recently paved. We do not typically do anything to that roadway. Those streets are usually under moratorium. So also we don't, unless it's an emergency, we cannot cut into those roads. Then you get into routine maintenance where it's rating 86 to 92. Good condition. Preventative maintenance is 73, 85. Again, that's more some crack sealing or some patch repairs. The next two categories are structural improvement and then base rehabilitation. So structural improvement is it's a deficient condition, but we can still reuse the sub-base material. So that's where you typically see the top 2 inches is milled off. And then we can reuse that pavement sub-base, and so we put back 2 inches. When you get in ratings below 60, that's where a lot more work is needed. So you get into either full depth reconstruction, but we often like to reuse the sub-base. So a blade goes down 8 inches, grinds up the pavement along with the base, creating a new sub-base, and then you put a new, typically 4 inches of asphalt on top of that. So this is a snapshot taken in March of our current management system. And so of the 187 miles of roadway, we have an average PCI index of 76. And so you can see that there are some of miles, we have 30 miles of reclamation that need to be done. Mill and overlay is the 50 miles. Micro sealing, that is, we actually are doing a new pilot this year. That is essentially when you do like a driveway sealant on your driveway. That now is an application you can do for roadways. That says 38 miles, or just short of 39. We also have to look at it's more difficult to use on arterial roads because there is a time where it has to drive for about an hour, so limiting cars on that surface. But we're just starting, we just did a pilot within the past few weeks on some of the streets. Do nothing is where we have, that's really the best, the highest rated roads. And then we also do crack sealing each year throughout town. So this was, in 2021, we had estimated that it's about a $40 million backlog just for this pavement plan. That cost is, we're actually updating that cost, but that is a substantial amount of our Chapter 90 money. And so each year we get $1.1 million in Chapter 90. And then supplemented with our capital or other general funds. And so it just shows that just in terms of the pavement management system, there is still a long backlog. But with a town PCI index of 76, that is I would say a relatively fair rating. And I would say it would be comparable or maybe improved from some neighboring towns. Here is a summary of the paving that we completed in 2022. So total, listing all the streets, just shy of 7 miles paved, $2 million spent, and then $116,000 spent in crack sealing. So this year we have planned to pave 7.4 miles of mill and overlay. Of that is just short of 3 miles of Groton Road and North Road that will be completed by the state. That's either going to happen potentially this fall. I think I have here fall or spring 2024. I think it is leaning more towards the fall. We also have the 1.5 miles of micro sealing, which we actually just recently completed. 2.6 miles of reclaim, and this is the more extensive project where we grind up the sub base. And then 0.5 mile of spot milling. We just completed that as well. That was just some areas along Chelmsford Street that were in dire need of repair. So for all these miles of roadway, actually 12 miles in total, when you add all that up, it's $5.2 million worth of work, and $1 million of that is state paving. And then also, like I said, we complete crack sealing as preventative maintenance each year. So this year, about $37,000 was spent on crack sealing. And this just shows a listing of the streets in the projects. So reclaim project, the more extensive projects, the micro sealing, I call it a pilot. We did it this year. I think it went relatively well, so we will continue to do it next year. And that really just extends the life. I consider that more of a preventative maintenance, but that extends the life of the pavement. And then we have mill and overlay projects. And this is where we just strip down the top 2 inches and put back overlay. So now to get into some sidewalk replacements. So like I said, both Chapter 90 or a lot of our funding is is needed for paving and sidewalk, but we also like to repair our sidewalks. And so this past year, we spent just shy of $340,000 to replace 1.21 miles of I said replace and constructed. It was primarily replaced along Billiker Road, Fletcher Street, Washington Street, Wilson Street, and Vinyl Square. Those were all replacements. We did also do a new sidewalk installation, but it was a very minor section along Middlesex Street, whereas the city of Lowell had been doing some work, and it was just a missing gap. And so we saw an opportunity just to add that 150 linear feet, and then we'd have continuing sidewalk all along Middlesex Street. But other than that location, all the other locations were replacements. Our sidewalks are primarily granite curbing with asphalt, and then sometimes in the center, a lot of our repairs, that's where we have the brick sidewalk with granite curbing. For our 2023 sidewalk plan, this is what we are currently beginning. We have $400,000 estimated in construction. This excludes Mass DOT work. 'Cause at the bottom of this list, you can see that there's just 2,600 linear feet along Tingsboro Road between Vinyl Square and Wellman Ave. But the other 1 mile is to be completed by the town. It is 1,200 linear feet on Church Street. We have work on Main Street between School Street and the town line. We do have some brick sidewalk repair at the center, or Central Square. We also have asphalt sidewalk repair on Wilson Street. And then the next two locations are on Essex Place and Percheron Road. And that is, when I get into the sidewalk master plan, these are sections that we're paving, and the sidewalk was in a very much deteriorated state. So to kind of pair with the paving program, we are replacing those sections. So, like I said, in 2012, we had that pavement master plan database developed, and it's a really great tool in how we plan our short-term and also longer-term pavement management plan. We didn't really have a similar sidewalk master plan. We had internally developed one, but we didn't have a database, I guess, that really inventoried and assessed all the sidewalks. And so this was what we did this past fall, winter. We completed an entire inventory and assessment of the entire sidewalks in town, also sidewalk sections. And so what this program, in the inventory, if there was point defects, the point defects are in our database. So sometimes you can have a fair sidewalk that's in great condition, but there's an ADA accessibility issue with a utility pole or hydrant. We have all that inventoried in our database management system. Also, we didn't have a great inventory of our pedestrian curb ramps around town. We didn't know how many existed. Now we have every single one categorized, a picture tagged to each one, and also knowing the condition of every pedestrian curb ramp in town. And other than just being inventory and assessment plan, it helps prioritize and I'll show you in the next couple of slides, is they help prioritize where should we focus our sidewalk repairs, replacements, and even if we were to look at new sidewalks, how would we want to focus that? So what we did is we looked at pedestrian usage around town, primarily around the schools, making that the top priority, and looking at the worst section, where for the existing sidewalk, which sections of sidewalk are the most deteriorated. There's a matrix that I think it's in the next slide. Actually, I'll get to that in a couple of slides. But that prioritization plan helped basically spell out, this is how we should prioritize sidewalks going forward. So I think I explained, the data collection process. So in total, we have 46.5 miles of sidewalk, a total of 922 pedestrian ramps. Of that, 756 are town-owned. The rest are primarily the Mass DOT. And the curb ramps, so we have material, the general condition, the width of it, the slope reading on it. So very detailed information we have in this database. And same for the sidewalks, the length, the width, the general condition, the material type, and then if there's any point defects along the way. Also, if there's a grass strip, because that's an opportunity to either expand the sidewalk or potentially for a tree or other. So 46.5 miles of sidewalks. Of the entire network, 10% is in excellent condition, or 44.4 miles. The bulk of it is, I guess the good news is the bulk of it is in good condition. So overall in good condition. We do have just shy of 12 miles in fair condition, and there's 4 miles that are recommended for replacement or in poor condition. This entire backlog is estimated at $22.1 million. So just to kind of tag, so before we had, for the paving, it's just shy of 40 million and then 22 million. So it is a large, infrastructure need.
Is the, I'm sorry, is the 22 million just the 8% of poor, or is that poor and fair?
That's everything. I think it's mostly poor and fair, but I think it might even be some of the good too, because also what it does is, this 22.1 million also is curb ramps too. That
Okay.
includes 2 million in curb ramps, but it's mostly poor, fair. It is touching a little bit maybe into the good, but it would be mostly the poor and fair.
Thank you.
And then also curb ramps, which are they're along sections around the sidewalks.
How much chapter 90 money do we get every year?
1.1 million.
So aren't we constantly
So
falling behind?
So we have been, I want to say, for the past over 10 years or maybe even a decade, we've been in the same, been receiving the same amount of money. And so I know every year it's a top point of discussion with at the state level, and we just haven't received more funding. I think that right now there's currently legislated to try to increase that, but it hasn't been resolved. So it is unfortunate because sidewalks cost a lot more now than it did 10, 12 years ago to replace. And it's the same pot of money for paving, sidewalk, or you can also use it for bridge repairs, replacements. Because we do have bridges, and we can't really, we have to put this money towards paving and sidewalks. We don't really put this towards our bridges either because we just have such a limited amount. So this is the pedestrian usage map, and so this was developed looking at various points around town where it's high pedestrian use. The schools we had put into the top of the category, as you can see. So Byam, you can see around the Center School, McCarthy High School. It's all kind of one area. Also, we added the town centers, both North Chelmsford in the center, and then other points like town offices, some of the parks, playgrounds, and the senior center. So from there, that gets then fed into this. This is this matrix that was put together. That everything that was put into the inventory database is then fed through this structure to help identify what our most important sidewalk replacement is. So tier 1 is it's the poorest condition sidewalk in the highest pedestrian use. And then if you go down to tier 4 would be the least important. It would be a great section of sidewalk on a subdivision. And so that fed through the so it's looking at condition and pedestrian use and the use of the roadway. And this is just a snapshot of the existing network that kind of builds that. It says, I think, 19.8 million or 19.9 million in backlog. I had said it's 22.1 million because that is 2.2 million in curb ramp replacements alone. But as you can see, so the first one on here pops up as Church Street. Next is Essex Place, which we happen to be doing that road, so that popped up as a need for this year. So as part of the sidewalk master plan, I had said that there was 922 pedestrian ramps that were inventoried, assessed. Of the 756 town-owned ramps, there's 520 that we need to replace. Some of them, it was based on condition and also based on the material. By law, all the transition ramps need to be concrete. So we have many that are either brick or asphalt, so that doesn't meet compliance. And then we also have some that might have been concrete, as in this picture below, but it's in poor shape. So that is a backlog of 2.2 million. That does fold into that $22.1 million. And as I call it, this states the 504 transition plan. So we have this now a documented list of all the curb ramps that we need to focus on. We can't go and fix them all tomorrow, but we just have to have a plan in place to fix them. So just this year in the sidewalk plan, we are replacing some ramps around town, various ramps. And each year, we just want to target a certain amount of ramps. And that's what the state calls a 5 of 4 transition plan. So as long as you know you have a plan in place to upgrade these ramps, it's allowed. And this is similar to the other, so putting the pedestrian ramps through that matrix, it identifies the most important ramps in town to address. And so and I would say this is a good planning tool. This isn't, we don't go down the list and say this is what we have to do, but this is very useful in terms of a planning document as to how we plan each year. This is a snapshot of the database itself. It's brought in by GIS. And so this is just of the ramps. It shows the ramps and it shows all the sidewalks. So 46.5 miles of sidewalk, 756 ramps. It shows all color-coded, so blue being excellent, the green being good, yellow fair, and orange is, I cannot read that. This is poor.
Yeah.
And then there's red, I think this is poor replace too. So for this database is very interactive. So if you zoom into a certain area, then it actually recalculates. So this is zooming in near Summer Street and Warren Ave. You can see that just in this area, there's 54 ramps and there's 3.4 miles of sidewalk. This is a database that we paid for to have completed, but we now own it. We will be updating it. And also, I think it's helpful that we can combine this with our paving program, overlay it. We're also going to be bringing in bus stops. Also, we thought about is if we have developments in the area, if a business is going in and we see that there's a sidewalk that needs to be replaced, that's maybe something as we can have as part of that project. So it's really a great planning tool. This is actually showing the point defects. And so on any section that is rated fair or good or excellent, if there are any point defects, those you can click on them and find out. Sometimes it could be an obstruction from a shrub that needs to be trimmed. It could be a utility pole. So this is something that we see as more in-house that we can tackle in certain areas and try to address. And this is the curb ramp assessment. So if we click on one of the curb ramp locations, it actually brings up all the information that was taken on that curb ramp. So this is a curb ramp that is in good condition. We have a photo, and we have some of the width slope information. And this is a curb ramp example in poor condition. This is just an overview back to this is showing the entire network. And so what is, just to kind of point out, there are a lot of areas in town where the sidewalk network is very disjointed. And it is largely because of the topography. We have 325 culverts across town, so it makes sense to connect A to B, but there's 3 culverts, or you'd have to basically create pedestrian bridges. So there's areas where, based on topography, it's very difficult to maybe make those connections. But then there's opportunities to make connections. And so what we did is we looked at how could we better connect the system. We already have, like I said, the $40 million paving backlog, the 22.2 existing sidewalk backlog. But we really see a need to better connect the entire network, and also looking around schools, how can we make connections around schools? So this is what you see in purple is what we've put in as a recommendation to better connect the network. And I will, in some upcoming slides, show around some of the schools where some of these might fall. So this is $14.1 million, 14.1 miles, and $13 million in estimated improvements to add on to the other infrastructure needs. So I will, I guess, just jump into some of the schools. So this is the center school. So looking just in the area, the center school, you can see there is a need on River Neck Road, and then there's a need on Turnpike Road. We haven't advanced anything on River Neck Road as of right now. It's not in our current plan. This is something we'll start to build now that we have this assessment database. But Turnpike Road, I know that is something that has been discussed a lot, and we are looking at it. We are currently in a permitting, it's going to be difficult. There's a bridge and a culvert that we have to build. And there's also, is wetlands on either side. So that is a difficult, project, but something that we're moving forward to see how we can put in. So we are showing that. That is, and you can see that there's some gaps shown. Those aren't necessarily gaps in the system. That's usually driveway entrances. But you can see that in some of the images. It doesn't mean that is, it's just it's so zoomed in that it's showing driveway entrances, not necessarily, it's a gap in the system. This is the high school, Parker Harrington. So just looking in this area, there isn't anything that's popping up in purple, so there's not too much that's needed. This is a pretty well-connected area. There are some sidewalks that are in fair condition, so those will pop up in, I don't know if it'll be 5 or 10 years, but in terms of replacement. I know that it didn't pop up in this view, but in Old Westford Road, there are some sections, I think that's closer, it's a little further away outside of this view, but that is popping up as a connection point. In South Row, here on Concord Road, there's an opportunity here to make a connection. You can see in Boston Road, there is a gap, and it makes sense to draw a purple line there, but there's, I think, 2 culverts just in that stretch, so it'd be very, very costly. So we just didn't make that connection right there. And so there are some previous versions where, I think it was on Mill Road, on Boston Road, where lines were drawn. And looking further into it, we've edited out that it's going to be very costly. So we proposed for adjacent to South Row, Concord Road. I apologize, this isn't South Row, this is the Byam. And there is, you can see Byam, there's actually more purple than shown around the other schools. And so I would say the Byam is one of the larger needs in terms of having some sidewalk infrastructure around the school. So we have Acton Road, Robin Hill Road, Parkerville, and Maple. I guess good news is that we did submit for a federal opportunity, a federal earmark. Hopefully we hear great news this fall, but for Parkerville. So estimate about $350,000 to install new sidewalk on Parkerville. So in total, if I go back to all the needs between existing infrastructure and new infrastructure, that's an $81 million backlog, which is substantial, because going back to the funding that we have, we received $1.1 million from Chapter 90. And we are, it's supplemented through capital and through, if you don't do the math on how many years that is.
We have a lot of experience with Chapter 70, maybe we can help you out.
So that.
It took us a couple decades.
Yeah, for a couple.
And so I guess really the goal, now that we have both these tools, we really want them to be integrated planning tools that we'll be using, overlaying together, and updating it. I guess it's never a plan that's set in place. We're just going to be updating it annually. I think that's the most important item is that we have to use this as a planning tool and update it. And so with the staff I have is that we're committed to updating it, and we can continue to provide updates. And so, I say new sections of sidewalk are subject to funding availability. So I think we are limited in the new sections just given the needs, but we saw an opportunity at the Byam, that clearly jumps out as an opportunity, as a need when you see all the purple surrounding that area. And so I think we do, I think that is a great opportunity for the federal earmark. And if there's any other funding we can find in that area. And I think that's it for now. I don't know if there's any other questions at this time, go ahead.
Oh, no, just a couple quick things. One of the things when you guys look at the sidewalk plan, do you take into account, I know this doesn't affect all of Chelmsford, the Bruce Freeman Trail, like connecting things to the Bruce Freeman Trail is a pretty good way to
So that's what we did, going back to, just gonna go back to this plan, it doesn't show great on here, but yes, so
It's in there.
connections to the Bruce Freeman Trail were key. And so that's what we did, because that does cut through town, so that wasn't part of our process for where we can make better connections.
We need another trail going to North Chelmsford.
Yes.
So the federal earmark program so I know how this works a little bit now, but just generally speaking, what are ways that people can, so is that a plan, how do you plan on continuing to use that? I know it's really up to the federal side, right? Like, what is Representative Trahan putting in her budget? But what can we do to make sure that that is constantly on their mind? Like, as a committee, like, when I see Lori Trahan, I always talk about things like sidewalks and new schools and like water stuff, PFAS, thanks. So all of those kind of things. And I want to just make sure that we're sending the message that every time they have earmarks, we should try to get more sidewalks.
Sure, so I think talking to Lori Trahan's office or just state representatives, I know we did get a letter of support from the school. So I think letters of support were helpful, but I think continuing those conversations is critical. And I think highlighting, now that we have this database, I think it is important, we do see just where we would improve around a school would be the biome for new sidewalks. So if we see any other opportunities come up, I think now that we have this database, we can try to target that.
Cool. I appreciate it. And I just, generally speaking, sidewalks have been a real thing for me. What?
This is depressing.
I know it is. Maybe did you have something? I'm just thinking of.
Can I just finish my,
Yes,
real
of
quick?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so I just wanted to say, and also sidewalks have been really important to me. So I live on Parkerville Road.
Okay.
And it is an unwalkable street, right? So we actually don't have access to the rest of the town, people that live there. There's other little kids, there's kids at my neighbor's house. There's kids all over the place and you're forced to take a bus. And there's other streets like I feel just as bad for, like Garrison Road and a bunch of the other road that are highlighted, Acton Road. It's crazy because the Acton side has the sidewalk that goes all the way to the lake. So in reality, like to reach the schools, it would be easier for you to live in Acton and walk to the biome than it would be to live on Parkerville. So, but thank you for doing it and thank you for doing the attention and putting the effort into it. I know there's a big backlog, but I'll keep talking to Lori Trahan and trying to get more earmarks money for it.
Anything else, John?
I think it's great to have a plan.
That's it. That's all I got. Thank you.
It's great to have a plan. It's great to have it all done, but I'm putting it in perspective and thinking 80-something million, that's like one entire year of our budget for the schools is at 70 million. This is at 80 million. This will take probably, my great-great-great-grandchildren may see sidewalks. Unless we can up the funding here from certain levels. So anything we can do, I think this goes to all our constituents in the town. Let's keep after people to get us some money.
Right, no,
Otherwise, it's not gonna get done.
yeah, I definitely, so if you look, this year, I think I said it was 5.2 million, so some of that was state, Groton Road, North Road, and so I think there's opportunities that pop up, but as of right now, when we go about our planning, we have to look at what we have available for Chapter 90 in our capital, but also we look, if there's free cash, we also look at that. I know we've looked at safe routes to school too, if we can do a smaller project. Nothing's popped up this year. I know we're getting some school school zone speed limit signs at the South Row, so that was a good opportunity, but nothing currently for a new sidewalk, but we'll keep looking and hopefully there's more funding availability.
I just had 2 points. One is, I see Ms. Sims in the audience, the Department Coordinator for Health and Physical Education, and I'm thinking this might be a good advocacy project, sidewalk, or Chapter 90 money for some kids who may be interested in maybe working with Ms. Quinn to, advocate for more Chapter 90 money. I don't know. I know sometimes you're looking for, I know you're not really looking for projects, but I thought I would just toss that out there for, but I know that the select board was interested in more civic involvement from the kids, and this might be an area that.
Be a great project.
Yeah. And then, this is just like minutia compared to everything you talked about, but when we're repaving, is there anything that we need to be aware of with regards to the school buses, especially next year where we're gonna have just that short window of time for the middle schools? Like, is there, like, do we have contact with the DPW to know if we need to reroute anything, or are we just going based on what we see happening in the morning?
So I think I can answer that, but a lot of our paving we're trying to do a lot of it this summer.
Okay.
But there will be paving continuing into the fall, so I think we'll just coordinate. We also coordinate with the fire department with fire trucks. I don't see any need for a change in routes. I think we'll just continue our goal is to keep the roads open. But if there's anything in particular, then we'll just do that planning with superintendent.
No, we haven't had an issue with that. DPW's been very good. Like I said, police and fire, if there's ever like a road blocked off even temporarily for paving, It's well coordinated, and I don't really see much between the McCarthy and Parker
Okay.
directly really affecting us. It'll be more like off in the routes, but we've really never had a problem notification-wise, so I think that'll be fine.
Great, thank you. So this is really a terrific report, and I thank you so much for this. I think that the town has been waiting for a long time to really kind of come to some understanding about what our sidewalk needs are, what our paving needs are, and what the plan is, moving forward. And obviously, it's not going to happen overnight, but it's really nice to see how well this is laid out, and give people some idea of, all of the factors that go into, these projects, not the least of which is money, but it was just, it's terrific, and I thank you very much for coming and presenting.
Thank you.
Yeah. No, thank you very much. When Christine, we were doing our monthly meeting, had talked about coming. It is a topic I know you've presented to other boards, and there's a different audience sometimes that watch the school committee meetings, so we thought it was good to have it here as well, so.
Absolutely.
I very much appreciate you doing that before everyone leaves for the summer, so it was good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Very
you.
much.
Thank you very much.
All right, as we shift to our second group tonight, this is actually our final spotlight on the departments for the year as we wrap up 22-23. And we have Katie Sims, who's our department coordinator, as mentioned earlier. I can tell you what, Katie, too, because there's no one here today. Why don't you actually just pull the chairs up to the main table? It's a little bit better sound-wise. Yeah, just have them pull right up to the main table. And Katie is our department coordinator for health and phys ed, and she's here to share some of the stories from her department for the year.
It's been renamed.
Oh, wellness.
It looks good.
Yeah. And just, Katie, when you do talk, just make sure you move the mic around. Great.
Share mine.
Perfect, thank you. All right, well, hello, everyone. Thank you so much for having me tonight and and my special guests here. We're going to highlight some of the program in the physical education department today. And our special guests here, we have Will Harris, who is officially a fourth grader at Byam now that he's finished the school year. Sam Harris, who is officially a Parker fifth grader in the fall. And Courtney Quinn, who is the PE teacher at Byam. So a couple things that we're going to highlight today. So one of them is the Byam Unified PE program that Courtney piloted this year. So I'll let her talk a little bit about that in a minute. I'm going to talk a little bit about the McCarthy Unified PE class that we're going to pilot next year with grades 7 and 8. We had our first annual Unified Game Day for Chelmsford, which was on Wednesday, June 7th. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. And Sam and Will were also at that event, so they're going to share some things from their perspective. And then lastly, I'm just going to go over a little bit of our fitness center upgrades at Parker and the new fitness center that we're currently building at McCarthy that we're really excited about. So I'll pass this on to Courtney. She's going to talk a little bit about her unified PE group that she did for the first time this year at Byam, that Sam and Will were a part of, and then talk a little bit about their experiences.
So this year I was super excited to get to pilot a unified class. And I had 16 students in that class. 8 of them were adaptive physical education students, so that is on their IEP. Those are services that they would receive. And I had seen this in several other districts, and I was lucky enough to get to do it in my student teaching. So I had wanted to do this for a long time, so I was excited to finally get this up and going. So I had 8 APE students, and then for each of those students, I paired them with a student that doesn't have APE that's in my general classes. That were really good role models. These are students that I don't have to ask them to go up and help students that need help. They'll just do it on their own. There are students that are willing to help me in any way that I need to. And so I paired them together and I had them in this group. And I would see them on Thursday mornings. And I co-taught this with our APE teacher as well. So initially for students that I wanted to pair with them, what I did is I made a list of students that I thought would be great matches. I'm lucky enough I get to see them for 5 years. So I picked mostly fourth graders to pair with them, and then I took my list to the principal, and we kind of went through, based on students who did well in the regular classroom, could be out for those 20 minutes first thing in the morning on Thursday mornings, and we made a list of who we wanted to pair those kids with. And then I would have them on Thursday mornings for about 20-25 minutes until they went to their first specialist class. And so it was awesome for my APE students. It gave them a chance to see what they were going to be doing in the regular classroom, but also experience it with their peers that were helping them. And then that gave them more confidence for when they would go into the regular PE class, because not only did they know what to expect, but they also knew that they had friends in there that they could go up to and that would pick them to be their partner or help them or pair them. So it was really a good thing to see those kind of relationships build. And those relationships built not just in the PE area, but those also went into other areas, the regular academic classes, as well as recess, lunch, things like that. So it was really cool to see those relationships build. And the confidence of the kids in APE, they were much more willing to try some of the activities. Yeah, so I'm gonna have Sam and Will answer some questions for us. So Sam, we can start with you. What do you like most about the APE class?
Probably helping the other kids that I was partnered with be able to do things with more confidence and be able to do them better and all that kind of stuff. And that was probably the best part about it. And definitely also having an extra gym class.
How about you, Will?
I also liked having an extra gym class and working one-on-one with a partner and helping them learn the activities that we were doing.
Awesome. And how does this class differ from your regular PE class?
Well, I would say it was like, well, normally you're the teacher, but I feel like when we would do it, we would kind of be the teachers. Like, we would help the kids. We would kind of teach them how to do the things. I think that's why I kind of made it different. It's different because you're learning different things, and instead of doing things with the whole class, you're working one-on-one with a partner.
Love it. Can you give a couple examples of types of activities that you got to do during that class?
As in the unified games, or
You can do either, anything we practiced before the unified games or things that we did even before any of the type of activities that we've done.
Okay, so, well, before we did the unified games, we practiced all the events that were going to happen. A lot of them are like track and field events, so like a relay race or a frisbee toss or the long jump or the hurdles. And we practiced a lot of those things, and I think those are some of like my favorite activities, and I think those are some of the best activities. I liked high jump, shot put, and frisbee. They were fun to work on before the Special Olympics.
Awesome. Sam, is there anything else you would like to share about the class?
Well, there was one fun thing when we took the buses to the high school to go. Our principal drove us, and he was a good driver. He did good, but he was a little slow. He could have gone a lot faster.
Mrs. Sims was a little bit better.
Yeah.
I told him he needed to work on those skills for next year.
Yes.
How about you, Will?
I like the whole class relay and the slushies.
No. Awesome.
Well, Sam and Will, thank you very much. I mean, you two are really incredible public speakers. But more importantly, I have a little bit of experience with Unified PE, and I know that you must be very kind and thoughtful and dependable young men to have been picked to participate and to help out students with special needs. So thank you very, very much for doing that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, and we hope you'll be able to continue in later grades, maybe when you get to McCarthy and then at the high school, where we have 2 of our unified PE classes there as well.
They are awesome at it.
And one other thing, next year, hold out for the superintendent to drive you, okay?
Will do.
All right.
I'll hold you to that. So just to talk a little bit about McCarthy, so next year, we thought it was a good opportunity since the middle schools are splitting, Parker being 5-6 and McCarthy being 7-8, to do something a little different in our APE program. That has been very successful. One, at Byam with Courtney piloting the small group this year, and then 2 at the high school. We've had our unified PE class for about 5 years now, so I feel like we've got it up and running. It's in a good place right now, so a good opportunity to kind of explore and do more with that, and go down to grade 7 and 8. And it worked out because McCarthy is also going to have electives for the first time next year. So the students we were like not sure at first if they're gonna have to take this as their PE class or as an elective. We weren't sure about that, but now that we know that there's gonna be elective, they'll be able to be enrolled in their general PE class and then as well in the unified PE class as an elective, so they'll get to still take both. And the APE students will be in the class all year long, just like the high school is. But the general ed students will switch by the semester. So we'll have one group for semester 1, just like the high school, and then they'll get a whole new group semester 2. So we're really looking forward to that. We did the process a little bit different than we did at the high school. The high school students can just select it as an elective. We decided for McCarthy, for our first year, we wanted to try out like an application process. So the PE teachers presented to all of the 7th graders at Parker and all of the 7th graders at McCarthy, told the students about the class, what the class would entail, that it was an elective, and that if they were interested in the class, they could fill out an application and submit it to their PE teacher, to show that they were really interested in being part of this class, and what we wanted to know why they were interested in being in this class. So we got some amazing applications and write-ups. I was so happy that we actually did this process because I wasn't sure how it was gonna go. And really nice write-ups by students. Just the leadership skills that they've already shown and some of the things that they've done outside of school that they wrote about was really a positive and really nice to see. So we're looking forward to that class starting in the fall at McCarthy. And then just to talk a little bit about the Unified Game Day. So Sam and Will talked a little bit about it. It was kind of something on Courtney's to-do list for many years, and we finally got it up and running. We thought for year 1 we would start small and just do the high school unified PE class and Byam, and work out all the kinks with just the 2 schools. And then we would like this to be an annual event, like a Chelmsford Unified Game Day annual event, and include the rest of the district next year. I think the event went extremely well. We didn't have a lot of hiccups or issues. If we did, they were small tweaks that we can certainly fix for the next year. And we certainly had enough space, staff, everything to include all the other schools in the district. So we're looking forward to that continuing. And the Kona ice truck was definitely a highlight, right, boys?
Yeah.
Yeah. What did you get at the Kona ice truck? Did you get all the flavors?
Yeah.
Yeah, they both got all the flavors. Perfect. So we just have a quick little slideshow for you of the Unified Game Day for you to take a look at some of the pictures and videos from that day. would you boys like to share your favorite station from Unified Game Day?
Shot put and frisbee.
Shot put and frisbee. Sam?
All of them.
All of them. Awesome. Love that answer. They all were really good. It was a great day, and we were thrilled to finally get it up and running, and looking forward to continue it in the future.
And Courtney, I don't think you should stop at the district. I think the Merrimack Valley Conference is. No pressure.
Courtney's
pressure.
gonna go there.
Yeah, no pressure. But, I know that Unified is becoming more popular in a lot of school districts, so.
Yeah, I do a lot of work with Special Olympics through Mayford.
Yep.
So I am part of the board, one of the vice presidents for adaptive physical education. So I do get to work a lot with them. So
Right.
hopefully, can keep
Yeah, maybe
going.
someday we'll perfect it in Chelmsford first, and then invite the other towns in.
Love it, love it. Thank you.
Can I just ask, do you hope to bring this into every school? The unified class?
In Chelmsford?
Yeah.
Yes, I would like to.
I think it's a
I
great
think
Yeah.
model. I mean,
I
I
would
used
love
to
to see
teach
it.
here, I knew a lot of kids who had APE, and to have this mixture, I think is great for
Yeah,
so
we're
many reasons.
slowly progressing there, doing
Yeah.
kind of one school at a time and
But now you've
seeing
got the model,
how it
so
goes. Yeah,
you can bring it forward a little faster.
yeah,
You know,
yeah. So we're
it's-
excited to bring it to
Great.
McCarthy next year too.
And I really like that you boys recognize how important it was for you to be teachers in that one-on-one role to kind of help the other kids, because in their APE class, they might not feel like they belong as much, but with you guys helping them out, they really can feel like they're part of the regular PE classes now.
Yeah.
It's really important, so thank you.
Yeah, they do such a great job.
Do you think you learned something too?
Yes.
Really? What did you think? What did you learn?
I got more patience.
Nice.
Good for you. That's
Um,
wonderful.
I probably learned to never give up. I think when I looked at those kids, some of them do have some disabilities, and I think it's probably hard for them to do the things that I can do easily, and I think it gave me perseverance and stuff like that.
Well, you know what? After that sidewalk presentation and the $80 million to go, you guys just gave me total hope. The best, okay?
Yeah, you guys are terrific.
That was wonderful. Absolutely.
Can we smile for one picture?
Sure.
Great.
Awesome. So one last thing I did want to show you was the fitness center that is currently being built at McCarthy. So this is what the fitness center originally looked like. Lots of showers. This is the back part of the girls' locker room at McCarthy. It was essentially unused space in the building and just used for storage for I don't know how many years. So that's where we started. This is where we are now. So it has been demoed and cleared out. And hopefully by the fall, this is where we'll end up. It's actually a significant amount of space. It's bigger than the high school fitness center. And that green that you see on the picture, that's actually 50 feet in length, and we're going to be able to put turf there.
That's cool.
So you can actually do some of the workouts on the turf, like with dumbbells or kettlebells, or you can put sleds on there. You can have kids run sprints because it's long enough. We weren't able to do that at the high school just because the length wasn't there. But since we have that partial section at McCarthy, we're able to put turf and then the rest of it a rubber floor. And then, just for fun, I just wanted you to see what it looked like with people in there. So thank you so much for having us tonight. And if you have any questions for any of my special guests or me, we're welcome to answer them. We're happy to answer them.
Any questions?
I think they've been amazing.
It's amazing work. I don't have any questions, mostly a comment.
Yes. Thank you very much
so
for
much.
coming in.
Thank you so much
You
for
know,
having us.
Thank
Yes,
you
thank
for
you,
coming
Katie.
in, especially now
Thank
that
you,
the school
Courtney.
year is ending. Thanks.
Bless you. Yes, enjoy your summer.
Get a free day off next year. Good luck with that, Mom.
Thank you. Get everything?
That was nice.
That was good.
I was more upbeat about the sidewalk.
No, it's a big too, but it's $80 million to go.
We'll just keep getting earmarks. We'll just keep working on it.
Oh, I didn't say it was hopeless. There was some hope.
We'll work on it.
All right, moving on, continuing on our new business, item number 3 tonight is a vote to approve and execute the contract for special education student transportation services. Either the meeting prior or the meeting prior to that, Joanna had provided a little bit of an overview about the recent bid process that we had done to secure a new special education transportation contract, but we hadn't received the contract itself back from Attorney Wah's office. So that's what you have in your packet tonight. Joanna can walk you through that. And ultimately, we'd be looking for a vote to approve and execute that. And then we do have copies. We did not, it's a very, very large addendum, so we didn't make copies of that for you to have to sign, but we do have the actual contract itself to sign, and then the addendums will go behind it. So Joanna, I don't know if you have anything else you wanted to share, or go from there.
That's a tough act to follow, and then switch over to a bus contract. But this is, yes, just a little summary of the procurement process, and we joined with Bill Ricca and Tewksbury. And Trombley Motor Coach was the one and only bidder. And we're going, it's a 3-year contract with an option to extend in year 4 and then in year 5 at our discretion.
All right, so I will take a motion.
I'll make a motion, hold on, I wasn't expecting that.
Sorry, John. It's on there.
Well, no, I know that now, I just
sorry.
forgot Dennis wasn't here.
Oh,
I looked up and was like, Dennis, what are you doing? It's on the bottom.
yes.
All right. I'm scrolling.
What page was it?
Joanna, only one bidder you said, right? Correct? Oh,
How many pages is this?
It's really long.
It's
on
no,
the
it's
cover
at the
memo.
bottom of the cover memo.
I make a motion that we recommend the school committee vote at the regular meeting on June 20th, 2023 to enter into a 3-year contract with optional 4th and 5th year extensions exercised at the sole discretion of the Chelmsford School Committee as proposed. The 3-year contract period covers the time from July 1st, 2023 through June 30th, 2026. Thank you.
Second.
all right. Are there any questions or further discussion? Okay, this is a roll call vote.
I would, yes.
Okay, Susan?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Maria?
Aye.
Aye, 4-0 in favor.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank
It's
you.
a long contract.
It is a
Yeah.
wicked, I actually thought
What
it
is
was.
this?
Very.
I thought it was, yeah, it's crazy long.
So when you have, just for your own sake, so when you have the contract itself is like 14 or 15 pages, the base document, but you always incorporate the actual bid in the response from the bidder in the contract as addendums in case you have to refer back to it. So they're just very lengthy packages. So that's why they are so long. So the first one was the bid itself, and then secondly was the response that we received from the vendor. So that's why it's so long.
I do have a question, not necessarily related to this contract, but about the cost sharing that we do. Is this something that's becoming popular among districts to help alleviate the cost of the transportation in special education?
Yeah, so there's 2 different things.
Okay.
So, like, we jointly went out with the other districts to issue the bid.
Right.
Part of the theory or the thought process behind that was if you have more than one district who has students who are looking to lock into this contract, it may be more advantageous to an outside bidder to see a bigger pool of people
Gotcha.
that they can actually get a contract from. So
I
if you're the prevailing winner, you basically win 3 districts instead of 1. So, bless you. So that could help from that point of view. Now, we only got 1 bidder, so that's not too helpful on that front. Secondly, though, when you talk about cost share, in this contract, and even like if we have other smaller providers that might do some kind of one-off business for us, most of these contracts, you're bidding like a per vehicle, per day rate. And you can put obviously multiple students on a bus or a van or whatever it ends up being. So if we have a van that's going to a particular school and we're paying, let's just say $400 for the day, and Lowell also has a student, or Billerica has a student who's going to that same school, we can cost share with that district. So if Billerica or Lowell puts a student on the bus and we have a student on the bus, then we're still only paying $400 per day, but we'll pay $200 and Lowell or Billerica will pay $200. So that, we do try to cost share whenever we can.
Right.
We obviously have some bigger schools where we can fill the whole bus ourselves going to it, but some of the smaller schools, that'll come into play. So there really are two different angles at the cost sharing, but we try to take advantage of both.
Great, thank you. I just didn't know if this was becoming more prevalent among districts because of the
Yeah,
cost of.
everyone's struggling. I mean, the costs keep going up. It's just there really are not a lot of transportation providers, and that's the biggest issue that we're having.
Competition's not there.
Yeah, the demand is just outpacing the supply.
Every employee.
What's that?
I'm still looking at the contract.
Oh,
I'm still scrolling down.
you'll be scrolling for a while.
There's like every employee, they're like, this is Bob, the guy that changes the trash every Monday.
It's part of their response.
He's thorough, I guess.
Moving along, number 4 on the agenda this evening, I'll ask Joanna just to share with us, we did receive the financial audit reports for the 2 middle school student activity funds. So we have the Parker and McCarthy in front of you tonight. We had already received the regular audit for the regular district previously, but these 2 were still in process. So Joanna, do you want to review those with us?
Thank you. So every other year, we audit the student activities, and we switch between the high school one year and then the middle schools the next year, and we're in this rotation. It's a little more than what's required. It's once every 3 years, but it's just easier for us to do every other year and not get out of sync. So this year, it was the middle school's turn, and they were auditing last year, so fiscal year '22's activity. And it was a very good audit review. They had a couple recommendations for us. It's actually the same recommendation for both schools. Well, one of them is to do with our pre-numbered receipts, which has been on our recommended guideline change every year since I've been here, and I've talked to the superintendent too. I don't know how we're going to meet that recommendation, especially with all the online stuff we're doing right now, but we'll keep working on it. And then the other is just on our field trips to do kind of a post-mortem, if you will, on what did the field trip cost. And we do that now, and they just want us to have the teacher do that instead of the business office do that. So we'll work with the principals to try to work out something that isn't very burdensome on the teacher, but gives an overall picture of what the field trip ended up costing at the end. And I can't say enough about my team and about the middle school principals, their secretaries, and the advisors for all their work to follow the guidelines to keep our student activity accounts in good standing.
Thank you very much.
Could you just ask a question on these?
Sure.
In terms of, these now go with each school? How do the balances just go to McCarthy and to Parker and stay there? How does it work?
I'm going to put together a proposal to bring to the auditors and to how I think things should be shifted around, like, and I'll present it to you all as well, but I'd like to run it by them to see what they think. But, 5, 6 will be at Parker, 7 and 8 will be at McCarthy, so there'll be some splitting to do, and then some will just stay put. Drama's going to stay at both schools. And then there are other clubs, and then we'll have to talk about what if a club doesn't continue at one of the middle schools, and there's processes for that. So just trying to keep most of it at the existing school, but where it makes sense to transfer between schools, we'll bring that forward.
Thank you.
Great.
Just wanted to give everybody some comfort that I've made it through the contract.
Okay, good.
Just about a minute ago.
And there is, so maybe just a vote to accept the audits and place them on file would be fine. Just a voice vote, doesn't have to be a roll call.
You want it as a report of progress? More than
You
that?
could do a report of progress, you could just do a vote to accept the audit reports and place them on file.
Yep.
I make a motion to accept the audit report and place it on file as presented.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
4-0 in favor. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Joanna, thank you very much. I know that there has been many years of hard work
Yeah.
in getting these procedures in place to make sure that things are clear and transparent and accounted for. So it is greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Items 5 and 6 are actually going to be taken together on the agenda. This is some additional one-time expenditures, not too many, just some closeout expenditures, and then a few budget transfers as we're nearing the end of the fiscal year and trying to start to close up our books. I'll give you the overview, and then Joanna can go a little bit deeper into them. But we do have, on the third page of this attachment, is just a list of items that add up to $57,000. These are some last-minute, kind of final one-time purchase expenses for the year. 4 out of the 5 are related to the final cost that came in for the middle school, the science labs that we're replacing this summer. And then 1 was for a new sign out in front of Byam School. We finally got that quote. So not a significant amount of money. And actually, as we were looking at the final budget amendments and adjustments for the year, we have sufficient funding within the appropriate line item of the budget so that we do not need to vote to transfer money into these accounts. However, we had already showed with you over the last number of meetings the one-time expenditures, so I didn't want to not show those to you. So these would be the final one-time expenditures we would be making. However, we don't need a budget transfer to accompany them because we already have sufficient funds in the accounts. But again, just to kind of show you, and a lot of this is already related to the science labs, which we already talked about. So it really just kind of closes out that process. If there's any questions on those, happy to answer them. But again, there's no transfer that's associated. The transfers that are associated, I'll let Joanna walk through with you. These are some year-end transfers that we have as we start to close the books for fiscal '23. Do you want to just walk through those with the committee? Great.
So as we're getting close to the end of the fiscal year, we're still favorable on the overall operating budget. So we'd like to build some reserve in our revolving funds and fund, you've seen these expenses in the past few years, for items from the local budget rather than the revolving funds. The first is the one-to-one computer initiative. We've been funding that from school choice. It's $136,000 plus. And transportation, part of the big bus expense is coded to the revolving fund. And we're requesting that a portion of it come back onto the local budget. Coaching stipends, we did budget for some in the local budget, and then the rest from the athletics revolving fund. So we're requesting that be funded from the local budget to build that reserve. And then the last one is the turf field payment, the bond payment and the interest payment. That's funded from the turf field revolving fund, and bring that on the civics category of the local budget. Those 4 total $647,613.
Okay. John, I'll take a motion.
Okay, so wait, there's 3 here.
We're just going to do the first one? Yes? I'm doing them separately.
The red motion at the end of the first page.
All right. I recommend the school committee vote at the regular school committee meeting on June 20th, 2023 to approve these FY 2023 local operating budget transfers totaling $647,613 from 22 favorable DESI categories to 4 DESI categories noted above for the Chelmsford Public Schools.
Second.
Okay, are there any questions or discussion? What's that? All right. Okay, Susan?
Yes, aye.
John?
Aye.
Maria?
Aye.
Donna? Aye. 4-0 in favor. Thank you.
The next one is to recommend that we prepay tuitions this year because again, we're favorable. And just a little refresher on prepaid tuitions. What the guidelines allow is we can prepay, so it'd be fiscal year 2024 tuitions in fiscal year 2023. And you can prepay up to a year worth of tuition for a collaborative and up to 3 months of tuitions for a private placement. So Amy Reese has been quantifying these expenses for us, and I putting it as an up to amount because, you know, we have to land on a postage stamp here exactly at our budget. So we're recommending an up to amount of $1,560,000 of prepaid tuitions. So again, 2024 out-of-district tuitions we'll be paying them in June. If you all agree that this is a budget transfer that you can support.
Motion.
Yep. I make a motion to recommend the school committee vote on the regular school committee meeting on June 20th, 2023 to approve this FY 2023 local operating budget transfer totaling up to $1,560,000 to fund prepaid OOD tuitions for the Chelmsford Public Schools.
Second.
Right, is there any questions or discussion? I have a question, Joanne. So is this including for these out-of-district placements, the 14% increase that we were going to be looking at?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Can I just for clarity?
Sure.
So, like procedurally,
Sorry, my computer likes to talk to me.
Linda's computer's talking again. So what this is doing is actually, it's allowing us to eventually, when we get to fiscal '24, be able to have a little bit of cushion and reallocate this money once we get the year started. We talked about, if there were costs associated with, say, the physical work on the security,
Right.
audit results, which we know there'll be. If, based on the realignment of the middle schools, if there's some extra funding that's necessary for equipment or position or whatnot, once we get into it, this would kind of give us a little bit of a fund to be able to draw from. So we knew early on, and we had done this historically the last couple of years, that this is a good option that's available to the school committee. We have very limited things that we can do with funding at the end of a fiscal year because you can't just carry it over to another year. So this is a way or a funding strategy for us to be able to do that. The only, kind of third option that we talked about, but I don't think we're going to need to do it this year, would be to allocate additional funding to that separate out-of-district revolving
Right.
fund that we established last year. But I think we're going to be able to just do this within the local budget and then have it be really fully within the school committee's control without having to put money in that other fund and then get a select board and a school committee vote to get the money out. So this really just gives us a little bit of flexibility with our fiscal '24 budget, and it properly closes down the fiscal '23. When we get to July, we'll report out if there were any changes. That's why the up to amount is there, because we're still going through the process of closing out regular accounts and purchase orders that we're not going to utilize and things like that. So the money can move slightly. I think it was really, last year was under $10,000 in total the shift. It wasn't significant, but whatever that bottom line is, we will report back out to you.
Thank you. Because I was going to ask you about that other account, if we were going to move any money into that. So that's actually
We have
good
the
to know.
ability to,
Yeah.
but at this point in time, I don't think we'll
need to.
necessarily have to, no.
And then my only other question is, I understand the prepaying. There's no fiscal advantage to, I understand in terms of having the money available, but like, we don't get a discount, do we, because we pay early? No.
No, the
I was
rates,
kinda hoping.
yeah, the rates at the collaboratives are set by the boards.
Okay.
And they're already set for the year. The rates for the out-of-district, the special schools and things like that are set by OSD, the
Right.
Operational Services Division, so we can't impact that.
Okay.
Yeah. The only other thing, not to belabor this, but the only other thing we don't know is there is discussion with the legislature about possibly doing some kind of a one-time, they don't know how they're gonna determine, like a special payment or a special reimbursement to cover some of that 14% increase in the out-of-districts. That's not included here, it's not included in anyone's budget, but there is dialogue at the state level about trying to have some type of a special fund to offset the cost for a year of that 14% increase that no one had anticipated.
Why don't they just do it through circuit breaker?
Well, it'll actually get picked up by circuit breaker a year later. So the problem is, next
right,
year,
right.
districts have to deal with that extra payment, because
Right,
we'll
forgot
actually
it,
submit
yeah.
the true cost next year, and circuit breaker will kick in the year after, but there's 1 year you have to play catch-up. So that's why there's discussion about doing some kind of a special fund for next year.
Do we have any idea what the circuit breaker amount is going to be at this point, percentage?
Again, it's gonna be dictated based on what this year's actuals were. I
Okay.
think it's gonna still be very strong.
Okay,
And I do think there's a very good chance we're gonna receive some additional funding on top of this for that extra 14%. I
Yep.
just don't know what that percentage is gonna be.
Okay.
There are multiple iterations of formulas that are floating around, and I don't know how they're gonna treat it.
all right.
That extra fund that we have that, we, the select board to vote on and so on.
Yeah.
What's the percentage on that? It's a percent of, we can't exceed a certain amount,
No, do you remember the percent off the top of your head?
right? I think we're near it, right?
Yeah, it's a percent of your net school spending.
Okay.
So for us, it's, I think we can go, yeah, up, like I was gonna say, 1.4 million.
Okay.
But, our net school spending goes up too, so, yeah, that's a
It goes,
safe
right.
number. And right now, we're at, what did I say, we had put in 750,000 last year, and then it also accumulates interest independently. So we are at $758,153 in the fund.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for that.
No, happy to. I know you did the motion, but did you vote?
Yes.
Oh, you did vote?
I thought we did vote.
Oh, I don't think you did.
Sorry about that.
I know.
No, we did
You had
not.
a question?
Yeah, I did have a question. I thought we voted. I'm glad somebody's on top of this. Okay, Susan?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Maria?
Aye.
Donna? 4-0 in favor. Thank you for
very
catching
much.
that.
No, I remember us talking about it. I just didn't think I know you did the motion, but I don't think we went back and did it. Thank you. Number 7 tonight is just a quick update for you, which I'll further update when we get to July. But I think it may have been Dennis or it might have been Maria, I'm not sure.
Both of us
Both of you
together,
did.
yeah.
Asked just for a quick update on enrollment. And I know the discussion was around general enrollment because we talked also about the hotel and possible
Yes.
reuse. And I don't have it, those students, obviously, it hasn't happened yet, so they don't impact these numbers. The numbers that I usually give to you in July, but I just did a quick update as of today for you, I'll still update this for July, was just after our April kindergarten enrollments. And you can see that on the second page of the report. We're in, overall good shape. I think the number is not far off of what the projection from NESDAQ was going to be on kindergarten. The numbers obviously at Byam were significantly higher than we had anticipated. And I had already talked to Principal Fredette this April after we had the registration and told them to go ahead and keep the 5 kindergarten sections. So that one's already in the works for next year. And obviously, Center Harrington and South Row will continue to watch. Usually the trigger is 95 to 100 students at a grade level when we consider adding another section. So again, I'll report back to you in July with an update. But at this point in time, I have given the go-ahead to Byam to go ahead and have 5 sections, but the other 3 schools are still slated to have 4. And again, in July, I'll update you. Those are the only real new numbers I have because everyone else in the district has been here. We haven't seen significant change grade level-wise.
On that Byam number, I was passing by today, and that development that's across from Enterprise Bank on
Yes.
110, that seems to now be, fully tenanted. There were a lot of kids playing in their playground and so
Right.
on, which hadn't been happening before. So I think that that's probably part of that number.
Yeah, that, certainly that's a piece of it, and I think also as you continue to go down that road, there are 2 now kind of fully developed
Yes.
condo-type buildings on the
Yes.
right side of the road.
And those
And
are
I know
done.
they're drawing from there as well.
Yeah.
Right. So like I said, I think we're in very good shape with those numbers, and, I don't think, even having 110 is significant at this point for Byam. Like last year, they were just creeping towards the 100 at this point, so I don't think that's a number that's gonna go drastically higher. But I will give you another update a month from now in July, when we meet again.
Thank you.
Byam has had, this past year, Byam had 5,
Correct.
so they're keeping that.
They're gonna keep the 5th.
And how has it been over the years in terms of families really knowing that they are supposed to register ahead of time? Because I still remember people showing up in the days before school started. My kid's ready to go to kindergarten, and they
Right.
had no idea. I wonder if some of these new apartment complexes, if word even gets out to people that they're supposed to do this ahead of time.
It's, I think we've actually gotten better on that because, like PR wise, we do promote through the school system. You know, we're pushing out to our families, even if you don't have kindergarten children, but you happen to be in a baseball league or something like that with kids, please let them know. Facebook has been helpful for parents, you know, Instagram, Twitter, things like that. So we're getting the word out. The biggest issue that we have is families that will register and move to Chelmsford for like a September 1st opening. There's nothing we can do about that.
I know.
So they're moving in, you know, over the summer. We technically begin school on August 28th or 29th, so we still start that last week in August. And a lot of people's leases won't actually start, they won't move in until Labor Day weekend around the 1st. So that first couple days of September, we definitely do get some families that come, but that's not isolated to just kindergarten. So those can really be K-12, because you've got a whole family moving in at that particular time. And I don't know what grade level they're gonna be in when they get here, but we really work those first couple of days in September to get the families in, to get the paperwork over to the school so that the kids can be registered right away, get into classrooms, and get into the normal swing of things. That's a group that we just, you know, there's not a heck of a lot we can do. But the regular ones, the numbers we have, around 350, if we have that for kindergarten registrations already, that's about what we were expecting. So we weren't expecting many more.
So with school starting in August, and as you said, there might be families who are renting and they don't start their leases till September 1st, so the kids really can't come to Chelmsford schools until they actually live here.
Correct.
And there's nothing
Yeah,
they can really
just-
do for someone who knows they're coming from Billerica or whatever.
Right.
And they're not actually here, they have to wait till they're.
They have to
here.
actually be residents,
Yeah.
yeah. So like our orientation, I want to make sure I get my dates correct. Our orientation this year is Monday, the 28th. And then kids will actually come on Tuesday, the 29th. So 29, 30, 31 are still in August, and we're in school those 3 days. Then we take the 4 days off for Labor Day weekend. And again, but a lot of people won't even think of that until they physically move to town.
Yeah.
And then they're coming here for, you know, after September.
But even if they know they're moving, they're not here.
Correct.
You know, if they're renting, they have nothing until they're
Right. A
actually.
lot will come in and start paperwork, you know, they can even download the paperwork online. But you do have to physically be living here before you start to attend.
Yeah.
So I'll update these numbers for you in July.
Thank you.
But I think, again, no big surprises on my end. Number 8 is just the warrant signing schedule. This is just from Joanna. Do you want to walk them through the warrant signing, Joanna? It's kind of self-explanatory.
Okay.
Yeah, this is just your list over the course of the year, how we have different school committee members assigned to different weeks to come in and review and sign the warrant. And there's alternatives in case people can't come in.
Thank you.
All I'll do is update this and I'll upload this to your Dropbox for you, just so it's there in case you need to reference it going forward.
Thank you.
9 and 10 are just updates for you. Linda helped us put together our kind of end of the year. We had kind of bridge goals for this first year with regard to, we're getting through the first year of the strategic plan. We're taking a look at what our priorities and different action items were going to be. So we had both identified in the fall some goals. Some of them were carryover from the prior year that we really just wanted to get accomplished by a certain time period. And now what we're going to look to go into this summer is really, now that the strategic plan is done, we're going into year 2, we're going to shift the discussion a little bit about to what those goals and objectives should be for the 23-24 school year. But we always try to kind of do a little year-end review of where we stood with our goals. And then just again, for your sake, so you know this, these obviously will be posted to the website so people can kind of follow along with what we've been working on. At the July meeting, I'll produce for you a report just called the Chelmsford Public Schools Year in Review. So it'll kind of be a memo format for you that ultimately goes into that town meeting book that we produce every year to just talk about the different activities that took place, whether it was negotiations or different projects like the strategic plan would be on there, things along those lines. And then we use that to obviously help inform the public about what we're doing. It's a nice kind of summary of what we accomplished together for the year. And then you can also use that when you're preparing my evaluation and things like that over the course of the summer. But these 2 documents, again, just kind of really update some of the work that's taken place among the school committee's goals. And then the second document is my goals for the year. again, happy to answer any questions, and we also can kind of further talk about this in July when we do the full year wrap-up, before we get into August and then start looking at 23 and 24. So happy to handle it any way you'd like.
So just with regards to the school committee goals, Linda did more than help. She directed the entire process, so thank you for that very much. Couldn't have done it without you, for sure. So there is so one of the things, if you remember, we talked about bridge goals before, we kind of started aligning them with the strategic plan. So these are kind of wrapping up a couple of things, like the policies, the handbook, and the superintendent's contract. I know that, I believe Attorney Waugh was or somebody was gonna review, because we had that little glitch where the MASC just sent out that memo about all the
Oh, we're
policies.
gonna do that this summer.
Right, we're gonna
Yeah,
do.
we haven't finished
Yeah,
it.
yeah, right. I know that that's still in process, so it's, we did our part, and then, of course, as soon as we were done, MASC came out with that memo, saying, here's all the policies you should look
But
at.
do they do that every year? Is there some number of them that they come out with something?
Well, we usually are pretty much, yes, okay,
Yeah.
yes, and we're updated usually, but this was pretty extensive. And we think that it was because of some holdovers from COVID that needed to be updated, which we had already done, so I'm not sure that we're gonna see a lot of changes in our updates. We just have to make sure that we covered everything. But it's done, basically. For, our purposes, we're just kind of fine tuning a couple of things. And then, of course, the handbook and whatnot. So going forward, as we kind of close out, as Dr. Lang said, as we close out this year, next year's goals, we'll want to think about how it is that we can align them with the strategic plan from the DM group. So if anybody wants to take a look at this, and if you have any thoughts or changes that you would like to make, if you could please let me know. And I will work with Linda, or Linda will work with me, I should say, on getting this taken care of. So.
And the same holds true for mine as you're reviewing them. If you have any, questions, you like further detail, you think something's missing, please let me know. I'm happy to update them also. And then, obviously, I'll be taking this into consideration for the July report as well, and I'll put that together for you at that time.
All set?
So, yeah, I mean, there's technically really
Guys have
no,
any thoughts?
no action in case you want, unless you wanted to add something tonight, but if you want, just between meetings, if you want to forward
Okay.
stuff along, that's fine.
We're
Yeah, yeah.
going to continue to review this and then bring it to the next meeting, is that?
Yeah, what we're gonna do is we're gonna close this out in the next couple of meetings. Just say,
Okay.
Okay, we're done,
Yeah.
we're moving on.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
As long as nobody, I mean, if there's no changes, then it stays. I wanna give people a chance to be able to look at it.
And then the new goals are starting in.
We're gonna work on
when?
those, yes.
Yeah, when,
And,
at the August meeting or September?
August.
August,
Yeah.
Yeah.
we'll be working on them, yes.
So just for your own sake, so read this between now and July, and if there's anything you want to add or change or whatnot, just let us know.
Yep.
At the July meeting, we can kind of finalize this. We can also, DM group is going to have their kind of year in review, so we're going to review how the first year of the strategic plan went with all the goals and whatnot. That's also a public document that we're going to want to share with staff and families and things like that. And then my year-end review kind of sums everything up. So at that one meeting in July, that's going to kind of wrap up 2022, 2023. Then we go into August, and that's when we're going to really start working with DM group and our own internal group to look at what our goals for next year are going to be. So we can finalize those in August, and then in September, when staff and families return, we can start to message what those are going to be for the year. And we're going to jump right into them in September. So July is kind of cleanup of this past year, and then we shift to August, and we're looking forward to the following year.
Yeah, I can see, like, the school committee goals are things that, as I was paying attention to the meetings before I started,
Right.
were things that were being voted on. So I see
Exactly.
that all makes sense to me. Yeah, and then the other part is just some new information I've got to go over.
Sure, yeah. Yeah, and just, that'll definitely be for July, and then August, we start to shift to the new. Okay. 11th for me, I made some minor modifications on time for this, but wanted to just lay out for you what an evaluation process for me would be. So like Susan, this will be your first time doing this, but the superintendent's evaluation process is more of a public process than other staff in the district. So what my recommendation for a timeline would be, again, is at that July 18th meeting, I produce that annual report for you, the year in review. You take that into consideration with the goals and updates that I've given you for the year. Everyone will get a copy of the goal assessment rubric. And what I would ask is between that July meeting and August 4th, so it gives you a good couple of weeks. If you fill it out, there's different ratings and comments that you can make in the different sections. And then you send that to Donna and myself. We'll work on incorporating that into one summative document. The summative document is the one that we all share. And then we would actually bring that forward at the second meeting in August. So that really gives us a full month to get that all out of the way. We have normally done that the first meeting in August. I just know because of, I'm actually not going to be here at the first meeting in August, and obviously I'd like to be here for my evaluation. So we'll bump that to the second meeting in August.
I don't
But
think I'll be here for the second.
all right, well, it gives you,
I'll talk to you.
it gives you a little bit more time to get everything done. And then again, it's kind of nice because we're wrapping everything up in August on that front, and then we're shifting to move forward. So nothing has really changed with the exception of July. You'll get all of those cumulative reports. You'll have about 3 weeks to wrap it up, send it to Donna and I. We'll pull everything together and move forward at the second meeting in August.
And then Susan, I can help explain the forms to you if you need.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
they look a lot like teacher rubrics.
Yeah,
Yes, they do.
and it's never been revised.
Not yet. Well, the DESI is actually talking about that for next year.
Oh, for next year?
For next year, but no, we're still using the current.
I remember when I
current
came
rubrics.
on, they were talking about it.
COVID happened. Everything kind of stopped with
All right, I mean, it was a couple of years ago. Can we just stop
Yeah.
going back? I'm just kidding. COVID sucked, I was here.
I know.
Yeah.
But no, so I think this timeline will actually work. It gives you a little bit more time than usual. And like I said, when we actually get through, I'll spend time with you all doing this, but
Okay.
I think this would be a good timeline to adopt. All right? And then last item for me tonight, number 12 is just your personnel report for the month of May. You'll just see some new hires to the district, a couple of resignations, and a couple of switches within the district. And happy to answer any questions, but this is like kind of the start of the new the hiring, so you're going to start to see the new people coming on board.
Is Josh Black going to McCarthy or Parker?
Parker.
It's wrong on there then, I think.
Last one under assignment changes.
You got a bit.
Yeah.
But
Oh,
as long as it's right in the computer, though, I think we're okay.
Oh, yeah, Josh is going to Parker.
It's
That-
what it
that-
does say.
I'll-
It
I'll
says
make that
McCarthy,
correction
right?
for you. Yep, he's going to Parker.
B minus. See, you're getting,
I'm not, I was going to let Susan know that's a possibility, but
no minuses,
I'll
no
let-
we'll talk more about this.
All right,
I'll let
I'll,
the chair explain it.
yes, I will get that remedied immediately tomorrow morning, Maria, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
So, yeah, just really, it's just giving you that update on the district. We didn't have any field trips or anything tonight, so that concludes the portion of the agenda.
Thank you. Does anybody have any liaison reports? Yes.
Actually do. So I have an odd liaison report, not something that we typically get to do. A few weeks ago, one of the reasons I wasn't here was I had an opportunity to go to DC, to Washington DC, to meet Representative Trahan, her staff, several other congressmen from Massachusetts, bunch of people, senators, people in charge of all like the big infrastructure project, all those kinds of people. And I took a couple of things away from it. I actually thought the meeting was great. It was a really open forum. It's something that Paul Tsongas had started like a million years ago when I was a kid. And then COVID did away with it. But they invite town leaders from all over the district. They come in, they get to hear the experts, they get to ask questions. And I do want to thank Paul, Pat, and Erin, who took the time to meet with me just to discuss larger town issues that I could bring up if I had, 15 or 20 minutes to talk to her, which I did. She really respects the people in this town and kind of respects what Chelmsford's done in the past few years, as you can kind of see from her engagement. But the topic of conversation that I brought up really ended up really focusing on the water district. Because the water district is really holding up a lot of different projects. It actually probably could delay or cause issues with a school project, and that was the thing the town said is the most, probably the most important in terms of growing the town because of the way the water district work. It actually supports a bunch of different places. One of the things I learned is that when Littleton, I said, hey, well, Littleton got 25 million, because that's what they told me to say. And her response was, no, I'm on these boards, I'm doing the work. The way these funds come out, congresspeople and your representatives can actually influence where that money goes, but you just got to keep on top of us. And that comes to my second point is I know this is the first year, and I hope next year Chelmsford has more than one person, because even towns like Gardner and Harvard and all these really small towns had 3 or 4 people out there advocating for different projects within the town, and then people would leave the room and they'd follow them out, and it was just one of me, and I'm pretty chatty and I did okay, but I just think that if we want things like earmarks for sidewalks for schools, if we want to really push on things for like getting the water district squared away, and any other kind of federal money projects, you know, when they think of people, we want them to think of Chelmsford, right? We want Lori Trahan to think of Chelmsford first, right after Lowell and Lawrence, like somewhere in the middle. But they get block grants, they're fine. But anyway, it was a really great event, really great opportunity to speak about Chelmsford, to talk about our challenges. And Representative Trahan is incredibly open to all of it. So it was a really great, it was actually a really interesting liaison report. First time I've ever done anything like that.
So it sounds like it would be good to have some representation from a couple different boards here in town.
Yeah, you definitely want to, yeah. Well, I did talk to the, some of the select board about it, and I was like, it just, for me, when you show up and there's 4 people from Gardner, which is like 11 people in it, I mean, that's like 60% of the population. So like, I just, we should be speaking louder than Gardner. They're great towns, like, they're great towns, but we're here to represent Chelmsford, and I just felt like we were really underrepresented, and we'll have to work on some relationship with Lori Trahan to get more people invited, but I definitely think we could do it, so, that's it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. Anybody else? Any other?
Liaison reports? Yeah, I wanted to talk about the PTOs. So my first PTO meetings were CHIPS and
best one.
Harrington.
Chips is the best one.
And they just reelected their new boards for next year. And I want to say, they do a real lot with a really small amount of people.
Yes.
And I really feel bad for them because the involvement in the PTOs has really, really decreased over the years. And they play such an important role in the enrichment and the social, emotional, culture of a school. And I'd love to brainstorm some ways to help them get more people, help them. Their boards, 4 people on a board, do everything. And I'd love to just brainstorm some ways to help them get more parents to understand how worthwhile it is for them to be part of it.
It's been an ongoing issue, and you're right. We're very grateful to the PTOs for all that they do for the district and staff and schools and
Yeah.
everything. But yes, I think that we could all speak to the fact that, participation, for a variety of reasons, has certainly dropped off.
Yeah.
But yes, that would be great.
And I do know they both talked a lot about their teacher appreciation things, staff appreciation things they did at the end of the year. And I know at CHIPS they were asking, I didn't know the answer, if they were still going to get money from the district to help support their staff appreciation events. And I don't know the answer.
That's something that we started a couple of years ago when we
Yeah.
went into COVID in particular. And we kind of look at it every year, and I do know that they ask that every year.
Yeah.
And usually in the end of the summer, early fall, when we take a look at our forecast for the years, when we let them know.
So when we go into next year.
When we go
can
into
help
next year,
them.
we'll let them know.
Okay,
That money's useful. That money is useful for the PTOs, for sure.
Yes.
and they definitely appreciate it.
Yeah, no, 100%.
Well, it's useful to the parents too, right? Because it takes some of the burden off of having to do the fundraising, which is where, their funds come from.
Yeah. So,
But it all returns into every school. I really, there's not a time that passes that I go to one of these meetings where you don't get the amount that they do, not only for the children of the school, but also for everybody's appreciation, including staff. And it all, in the end, returns for the good of the student. So, people do incredible amount of work. And it's always amazing to see, for example, when they run the after prom, the amount of involvement from the entire community, not just from one school, but from the entire district. So when it's event-driven and people know about it and know about it well, the amount of contribution is immense, really immense. So the community as a whole, also a great, big thank you.
Does anybody else have any other liaison reports?
That's the best thank you anybody's got for a liaison report in a long time.
Yeah.
I think it's the first new person we've had, like in a while, right? Like a new member?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, congratulations, surviving CHIPS. I love it.
Are there any action items or new items? So keeping in mind, we have a couple still loose ends we have to wrap up between now that didn't second meeting in July and the first meeting in August.
Right.
And then we'll turn our attention to the new school year. But if there's anything that anybody would like to include on any upcoming agendas, please email me and let me know.
Absolutely.
Do we have any second public comment? Any emails to be read into the minutes?
We don't. I just wanted to make two little reminders if we can. So 2 weeks from today is actually July 4th. So we do not have a meeting, the first meeting in July, so that'll just be the parade. So I'll send out more details on that towards the early part of next week. Our next regular meeting is not until Tuesday, July 18th. And that'll be our one meeting in July.
Got it. Love July.
All right, is there anything else? I'll take a motion then to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. 4-0 in favor. Thank you.